welcome to the Springfield and Central Illinois African American History Museum. My name is Nell Clay. I'm the current president of the board of directors for the museum. And we have been in existence in this building for a little over 2.5 years. The museum has been in existence since 2012. We are located at 1440 Monument Drive, as you guys know, but I say that because as we talk to people throughout the community, they are not aware of the fact that we exist. So hopefully that will help get the word out and we will get more people to visit our museum. My task is to introduce Congressman Davis. He is currently in his 4th term, serving the 13th District of Illinois and 14-county district, both urban and rural areas of central and southwestern Illinois. He is married with 3 beautiful children. Since the artifacts of Springfield race riot were discovered, Congressman has been a force in bringing this discovery to state, local, and national attention. He actually had Dr. Carla Hayden, the Librarian of Congress, come to Springfield so that she could see the site for the race riot and to help elevate the knowledge about the Springfield 1908 race riot. He has worked with multiple leaders on federal and state level to ensure that this site is preserved. And I think it is very appropriate and accurate that he does his press conference at the Springfield African American History Museum, where we do have the exhibit for the 1908 race riot that has been loaned to us from the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum. We will only have it until the end of February, so please come down and take a look at our exhibit and just visit the museum and learn more about our history. Thank you. Congressman Davis.
Thank you, Nell. Hey, first off, I want to say thank you so much to Ms. Clay. This is an awesome opportunity for me to come back, and as a matter of fact, it's been a pleasure to be able to be here the last time with Dr. Carla Hayden, someone who used to spend summers in and around the area where the Springfield race riots occurred, where the artifacts were found, and to be able to see the connection of the first ever female African American Librarian of Congress, be able to have that connection to the district that I'm blessed enough to represent. It's really been humbling for me. But it's humbling for me to be able to walk into this museum when I get a chance to, and I know it wouldn't be here without the hard work that you do. So help me all, help me give Ms. Clay a round of applause. You know, there are some other great friends that I've met throughout this process and throughout my time in Congress, and I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce them. And I know one is going to come up and talk, and I'm going to introduce her later before she comes up and say even more about her. But Teresa Haley, I can tell you I haven't had more of an opportunity to work with an NAACP local president as much as I have with you, and it's been a pleasure to not only call you, not only see the dedicated work that you do, but to be able to call you a friend. So thank you very much, Teresa. We've got some other guests here. Cameron Just from Senator Duckworth's office, my good friend Tammy, thank you for being here. And thank Tammy, Senator Duckworth, for all of her work. Another great friend of mine, Hal Smith, who represents my colleague in the House and a co-sponsor of our bill, Congressman Darren LaHood. Darren and I were in D.C. together yesterday. He stuck out there for another reason. Otherwise, he told me he'd be here today with us. So thank you both. As a former staffer, I know exactly how hard of work you do on a regular basis. So thanks for being here today. Mayor Langfelder, thank you for being here and celebrating this opportunity with us today, along with Alderman Senor, Herman, right? Alderman Senor, I thought you went to that side. Newly elected State Representative Mike Murphy, thanks for being here today. I'm gonna deviate from the program just for a second. I want to allow my good friend and my former colleague, who I used to sit in those chairs with when he was a staffer for Congressman LaHood, but Representative Tim Butler, a new member of the Illinois House Republican leadership, he lives in this area. He's represented this area now for a few years, but this is personal to him because I know the history that he and I have had in moving the projects forward that led to the discovery of the artifacts that we see over there. And Tim has been one of my good friends for decades now. It says our age. But to be able to represent this area in the Illinois State House, I'm going to deviate from the program a little bit, and I want Tim to come up here and offer his thoughts on what we're doing today. Tim?
Thank you, Congressman. Well, thank you to Congressman Davis for all his work on this, and really, you know, I'd like to thank, you know, the mayor and Teresa and the African American History Museum and everybody that's worked on this project over the last few years, and most especially HSHS St. John's, with which they've done wonderful work, and I know Mary Starman Hermanson is going to speak here in a little bit. But this, you know, there was a great article that I read about the race riots the other day, and I would encourage you, and I posted it on social media, and I would encourage you to read it. I mean, it really talked about, you know, the impact that had back then, and the fact that this community has literally buried this history of our community, and what we've seen happen over the past few years to be able to want to tell the story. You know, and I had a discussion with Teresa, I don't know, about a year or so ago, talking about why celebrate's not quite the right word, but commemorate this better in our community, and we're taking a huge step forward with this. Having the ability with what Congressman Davis and Senator Duckworth are doing on the Senate side as far as legislation to make this a national monument, I think is really a huge step forward for our community. So I just thank everybody for their work on this. I'm committed to helping this out on the state level. I plan to introduce a resolution in the Illinois House that will support the efforts on the federal level and put the Illinois House of Representatives on record in support of this designation as well. So as the Congressman said, welcome to my neighborhood. This museum is a great part of the 87th District, and I look forward to working on this moving forward. So thank you, Congressman.
Because we're good friends, I like surprising him too. He does a great job in the State House. Look, we would not have had the opportunity to find the artifacts that were discovered without the leadership of Chairman Andy Van Meter and making sure that he's been a consistent voice for moving a very important rail project through the city of Springfield. And in the end, what was initially thought to be a hindrance to the project is now a blessing to be able to share the history of what the Springfield 1908 race riots mean to African American relations in this country and African American history within this country. And it wouldn't be possible, as Tim said, without the dedication and the hard work and the generosity of St. John's Hospital too. So Mary, thank you on behalf of all of us for what St. John's has been willing to do to make this monument a reality. Now, seeing where we are today, today we're here to commemorate the bill that I've introduced in the House, Senator Duckworth is doing in the Senate, that would make the race riot monument that was unveiled just a few short months ago and the location of it a National Historic Monument. Just a few short weeks ago, I spoke with the Secretary of Interior, who informed us that the National Park Service has already agreed to a preliminary resource assessment of the site that's been identified. That, even according to the Secretary, is the first step that needs to be taken, and it's the most important step that we have to be able to move forward and work with the administration to get this designation to become a reality. We're going to make sure that we do everything we can, both in the House and with Senator Duckworth in the Senate, to ensure that these bills aren't just pieces of paper that we filed on our prospective floors of service, but that it becomes law. That's going to be the end game of all of this that we're starting here today. So I want to thank again everyone who has played a part in this, those who are not here, those in the audience that I didn't get a chance to introduce, but thank you. Because without the dedication, the hard work, the bipartisan work that we see sitting in the audience, all around us and standing behind us today, we wouldn't be to where we are today and get as close as we are to ensuring that the history of Springfield and the importance in the creation of the NAACP is given the due honor that those artifacts demand we give. So thank you very, very much, everyone, for being here today. Again, proud to host Carla Hayden, Dr. Carla Hayden, just a few short months ago. And one of those who was showing Dr. Hayden the artifacts in question was somebody whom, again, I've gotten a chance to not only get to work with as one of our local NAACP presidents, but somebody who's become a friend. And to see the dedication that Teresa Haley has to ensuring that African American history is not only remembered for the historical context of artifacts to our right and what it means to Springfield and what it means to our country, but Teresa's on the front lines fighting for equality today for every single person in Springfield. She's somebody who I know has had to make some unpopular decisions. Heck, we all have to when we're given opportunities to lead. But Teresa Haley is the most dedicated public servant that I've had a chance to come across that makes sure that these issues are put to the forefront of every level of government. And Teresa, thank you for taking the time here today. Thank you for what you've done to move African American relations in Springfield and Sangamon County forward. And thank you for just being a good friend. Come on up.
Thank you, Congressman Davis. I must tell you all, today is Friday, and I wear suits and dresses every single day. But I just knew my good friend was going to be in his jeans today, so I didn't have a problem wearing mine, but it looks like I'm the only one up here with jeans on. So thank you, my friend.
I told you, I dressed up specifically because you always dress up. My bad.
But it is so good to be here today, and it's good to honor this and to have this press conference before Black History Month. I am overwhelmed with activities planned for the month of February. So it's nice to set aside the time in January leading up to it to discuss what we're doing, not only in Springfield, but statewide and nationwide in terms of this Race Riot monument. We just had something very historical happen here in Springfield with our inauguration. There were people who came from all across the country. But what was sad about it? Government shut down. People came to me and said, hey, this is the first that I've ever heard about the race riot and how it started and led to the establishment of the NAACP. We wanted to go over and to visit the Lincoln sites, but they could not. So I'm asking Congressman Davis and the rest of our friends in Congress to please open up government. That is so important because the NAACP is not about Black folks, it's about all folks. And this shutdown is not about politics, it's about people. It's about people's ability to live and survive. And that's what people fought, bled, and died for in the NAACP and its struggle. It has been a history that people in Springfield and around the country have been ashamed of. And they say, oh, we're gonna bury that, we're not gonna talk about that. That's the history that we want to forget. But if we don't know our past, we're bound to repeat it. Haven't we all heard that before? And we've seen it. So I am excited about my friend, the mayor. Mayor Langfelder and I, we text each other, we call each other. I got a text at 6:30, 7 o'clock this morning about the press conference. And I said, I'm already ahead of you. Congressman Davis made sure I was already ahead of you. So I'm just so grateful to be here today. And I want to say to Hanson, especially to Kevin and to Floyd, those individuals have always been there for me. And my buddy over here who doesn't have a cell phone, so I can't call him, but I can call his house to find out what else is happening in terms of Hanson's research as it relates to the Race Riot site. But thank you for your support. We look forward to working with all of you, and we look forward to seeing this monument become a reality real soon. Thank you.
I couldn't agree more with what Teresa said. The folks at Hanson, Floyd, thank you very, very much for everything you've done to ensure that we've moved this project forward. Kevin, and the guy with no phone, Jim. So, hey, it is important that we get a government open again. It has had a tremendous adverse impact on communities like Springfield. And we know as we move forward, we all have to govern together. And we've got to make sure that even in the midst of a partial shutdown that we're in, that we don't lose sight of the long-term goals of making something like this monument a national monument. We're going to continue to do the work on the ground in the House and in the Senate, regardless of what's happening outside of our control. And we're going to continue to push good policies forward like the bill that I'm here to talk about today. And there is no better time. I just visited Laketown Elementary School, where I saw the next generation of young kids who are going to lead Springfield learning. And I walked into one of the classes. These kids had such great questions, but I walked into one class and they were doing a project in commemoration of Martin Luther King Day next week. Today, where we stand in the birthplace of the NAACP in Springfield, Illinois, to be able to talk about a bill that I've introduced to make the monument that all of you in this room are going to turn into a reality, a National Historic Site, is extremely humbling for me to be able to do. Mary, come on up, and I truly want to apologize, number one, but thank you for what St. John's has done, and thank you for what you continue to do.
We're honored to be part of it. As Congressman Davis mentioned, my name is Mary Starman Harrison, and I'm the President and CEO of Hospital Sisters Health System. And for all of you who may not realize, we have 15 hospitals and 3 large physician groups in 2 states, Illinois and Wisconsin, including, obviously, HSHS St. John's Hospital here in Springfield, as well as the Prairie Cardiovascular Group and the HSHS Medical Group. We really appreciate Congressman Davis's desire to advocate for this legislation to create an outdoor historic site commemorating the 1908 race riots. Thank you, Congressman Davis. Where are you? I found you. You took this on with no questions. And we believe it's going to be very special and a very educational project, and we are honored to be a part of it. Hospital Sisters Health System donated part of the land where this historical site will be located. What happened in this area during the 1908 race riots is horrific, and it's heartbreaking. So we have to be committed to educating our community to learn from the past and to make sure we don't let history repeat itself. In the aftermath of the race riots, our hospital sisters took care of the victims, black and white, side by side, in the emergency room at St. John's Hospital. All violence and hatred was set aside. It was part of our mission then, and it is still our mission today, to reveal and embody Christ's healing love for all people through our high-quality Franciscan healthcare ministry. You know, HSHS St. John's recently built a new clinic for women and children, which opened just late last year. And this clinic is adjacent to where this historic monument will be constructed. In the process of our building this new healthcare facility, we took extra careful steps to ensure that our construction activities did not affect the foundations of the homes that had burned down during the riots. Our sensitivity to this stems from our total respect for the victims, their loved ones, their ancestors, and anyone with a connection to this tragic historical event. Once we discovered that there were no additional structures of historical significance, we built the building. And then we created a special wall exhibit in the new building and a healing garden adjacent to the building to commemorate the 1908 race riots. We did this with a lot of help from several local interested groups, as well as the NAACP. So when the city leaders approached us about doing something more to commemorate this historical event, we were grateful to be part of a committee that carefully considered the conceptual design for this memorial. This video, which you are about to watch, explains the concept we hope becomes a reality with Congressman Davis's legislation, providing the opportunity to make this a federal historical site.
In August 1908, 2 innocent black men were hanged in Springfield, Illinois. A mob of thousands, enraged by false claims that a black man had raped a white woman, burned down several blocks of homes and businesses in the black neighborhoods of Springfield. Many were killed. But the lynching of Scott Burton and William Donegan, both elderly, respected businessmen, were the most brutal acts of all. The 1908 race riot of Springfield, the home of Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator, was the catalyst for the birth of another legendary champion for racial justice, the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. In 2014, crews digging along a railway corridor discovered the foundations of 5 of the original buildings destroyed in the riot. These sites will be carefully excavated. Their contents will be preserved and moved to safety. The foundations of the burned homes, too fragile to be moved, will remain interred and undisturbed. And this ground, and those who lived and died there, will be honored. The memorial will rise up from this site, giving voice to the men, women, and children who endured those dark days. The journey through the memorial begins along the Remembrance Garden Boardwalk. This shaded path will introduce visitors to the Springfield of 1908, the events that led up to the race riot and the larger story of its effect and its role in the creation of the NAACP. At the center of the memorial is the wound, a 300-foot-long metal sculpture with a large opening at its center. The opening is symbolic of a wound which the riot inflicted on the people and on the city, and which remains open. Once inside, visitors experience the riot through the words of participants and witnesses. The savagery from a century ago slashes through time into this placid space. Pale brick floors trace the outlines of the skeletal foundations beneath. New walls rise from the ruins, etched with the history of each home site. Near home site A, the running shape of the sculpture turns in upon itself to embrace a sacred marker. A bronze tree rises like a cross, a solemn sculptural remembrance of the lynching tree whose branches were taken by the mob as souvenirs. A thin veil of water will cling to the tree, inviting one's touch, the healing nature of water and of time. Amid the strife and the pain, there is hope. A contemplation space rests at the end of this special place, testifying to acts of kindness, the giving of shelter, and offering visitors a respite for reflection. A chance to appreciate the healing work done by the NAACP and countless others. This sacred place will become a destination and cultural landmark, welcoming the public and inviting them to enter this poignant story, seeking to educate current and future generations.